Muy contento. Ay. Tercer juicio. Al lío.
Monokuma appears!
Vale, no me acuerdo lo que había puesto, que tengo.
Wrong!
Justo.
Whew. Boy, tough crowd.
También es que estoy hablando bajo porque es de noche, ¿eh?
Stop talking.
Okay. Hey! Hey!
Let's go. Please!
What the heck?
Y dale, que no es el asesino, pesada.
What the heck?
Correcto, no lo hizo. Ya,
Hey.
claro.
That's right.
Uno muerto, dos muertos. Sí, y aquí está. Eso está. No hace falta buscar una rutina. Eso está.
Just the worst.
Cuidado, que no.
Damn. Hey. Yes, yes.
Sí, que te digo, que te gusta. Que te fue lo mismo yo, directamente diciendo que había muerto dos, que me dio uno solo. Sí. ¿Cuántos quedan para que se acabe el juego? Vale, todavía tienen que morirse dos personas y quedemos 6. Faltan 2 por morir. Uno ahora y otro en el cuarto juicio. Ese puto juicio me va a repetir. No quiero que lleguen.
Just the worst. What?
Come on.
Yahoo!
A ver lo que nos trae ahí. Venga. Tercer juicio. tiene, pues... Celes. A ver. Sí. Sí. Recto. Sí. 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 Me sigue flipando esa habilidad, Sam, en serio. El tiempo límite no baja. Incluso si disparas a una afirmación incorrecta. Toma. Buah, esta rota. Estas son horribles. Más daño. Más balas. A punto 2. Recargo 2. Y el combo lento. Los combos lentos aumentan el tiempo. Estoy roto. Venga. Tercer juicio.
Let's begin with a baby. If you can fit an aisle. Now then.
Me salto eso porque siempre es la misma mierda en cada juicio.
We already know who did it.
Was that?
It was Hiro. He does not have an alibi for when the murders took place. Don't try and deny it.
I didn't! Someone knocked me out!
Shut your murdering mouth!
Who are you calling a murderer?
I am sorry to say, Hiro, blueprints for the suit. Parts we assume were used to build it, and all of it was found in your room. It points to you as having created the suit and wearing it while
How many times do I have to I don't know! I don't know!
Everything we found in your room. The blueprints, the suit parts, they are all proof enough that you are the culprit.
I don't know anything about that stuff! It's not true! It's a conspiracy!
Hiro, why? Why did you kill them?
No! Just hold on a second!
Everything we found in your room. The blueprints, the suit parts.
No, that's wrong. Are we sure Hiro really made those blueprints?
What do you mean?
Well, take a look at this. It's the note that Hiro wrote. The handwriting's obviously different when you compare it to the blueprints.
There's no way you could think the same person made both of them.
Unless that person made it a point to disguise their handwriting.
No, the differences are bigger than that, I think.
Come on! I'm not smart!
So Makoto, are you saying...
And he's not the only one.
What?
Then who was in that Robo-Justice suit?
Hiro. Estaba Hiro, pero no era el asesino. Simplemente le tocó...
Is it like Hiro said?
The suspicious individual. Go ahead, Makoto.
So?
Hiro.
I got it! Other than Hiro, obviously he was the one in that...
Then there can be no doubt.
That doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense. Hiro was the suspicious individual in the...
So what you're saying is...
That's right. The culprit in this case has...
What?
Now that's a bold assumption.
And what reason do you have to make such a...
Es para llamar la atención. Ya está.
Of course. There's something else we need to clarify first.
Hey, stop trying to boss...
All things have a proper order.
So what is it?
We must clarify the method of transportation. It would seem that his corpse was moved using... Makoto, can you...
Esto
I got it!
y el carrito.
I got it! They were a dolly and... So, let's see if I can... Taka's body disappeared from the equipment room. And then we rediscovered it in the repository. And when we found it for the second time, it was wrapped in a blue tarp. It was the same tarp that, up until then, was stored in the equipment room.
Y hay dos.
So the killer must have seen it there. That way, they wouldn't leave any bloodstains while they were moving it.
Okay, that explains the...
Same thing. I'm sure the dolly was in the equipment room when we first found Taka's body there. But when the body disappeared, so did the doll. Later, when Taka's body reappeared in the repository, so did the dolly.
In other words, you think, but are you sure you are not
Huh?
Are you absolutely positive that dolly was made specifically for moving large? It would be very strange indeed. Is it not possible that it was in...
She's raised an objection. How do you respond?
There is no shame in being wrong. We have all accepted the fact.
Por favor. Vale, ya empezamos con estas mierdas. Vale. Qué putada, porque estoy en min. Me vas a recordar con cuadrados. Okay.
You have it wrong. I cannot agree. You are a fool. So pathetic. Lies will get you nowhere. Do your worst. Away with you. You miserable wretch. I cannot agree. You are a fool. Lies will get you nowhere. Do your worst, you miserable wretch. You have it wrong. I cannot agree. You are a fool. So pathetic. I cannot agree. This should prove it.
Y no me he hecho un kill porque no puedo.
If you're
Que en
asking
el
for
último
proof
juicio
that the
no puedo
dolly
hacer un
moved,
combo de 100%.
I have it right
que lo
here.
hice. Y cuesta un cojonudo.
When I found the dolly in the repository, there was a pool of blood in the equipment room with a tire marking that matched the dolly wheel's tread. The killer probably rolled the dolly through the blood on accident, and as the blood dried on the tire. So there's my proof that the dolly...
Well, anyway, that was just something...
Yeah. The subject of how what kind of robot...
I'm not sure that really...
I'd be happy to explain why the occupant of...
El traje no tiene nada que ver.
If you look back on how the body was transported... As we know, Taka was killed in the equipment room. And from there, the body was moved to the repository, correct?
Yeah, the culprit wrapped the body in the tarp, then loaded it onto the dolly and wheeled it off, right?
Now, keep in mind that the dolly doesn't have a handle.
Well, yeah, but even without a handle, all you'd have to do is bend over.
¿No puedes?
No, that's wrong.
¿No puedes? El traje no es hecho para doblarte. ¿No puedes?
You're absolutely right that you could push a dolly...
No puedes doblarte si el traje no te deja.
without a handle if you stoop down low.
Llamada cuando por el comando y la ley que se enamora en forma directa. Lo considero muy gracioso. Cuidado con el botón de detectar el disco.
But if you were wearing that suit, do you think...
What do you mean?
Think back to what you said when we were all checking out the suit together.
Una vez y dos, no se pueden doblar.
When you're in that suit, not only am I right about that?
Now that you mention it, yeah.
It seems like it'd be awfully hard.
Well, what's to stop?
When you can't even see your feet?
Yeah, it'd be totally impossible.
On top of that, if you were wearing such, it's very unlikely you would have the dex.
Well, I mean, isn't that just a matter of taking off the suit when you're...
No puedes. No puedes quitarte el traje en tu lugar.
You're ready to...
I got it! I don't think taking off the suit was an option.
That's true. It seems
Then, you really...
Of course I wasn't.
If he could have gotten it off by himself, showing up in the suit was basically...
Yeah, that's right.
So, it's real...
To be clear, whoever did move the body...
No, wait. Just a second. If you all got a good look at it, if whoever was in that suit is...
¿Por qué no es eso?
Besides, do you remember... So long as those facts exist, the individual inside the suit and...
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
It's still far too early. Besides, there's before we rush to a verdict. Instead of seizing on one viewpoint,
Perhaps, but
let's review this series of unfortunate events.
Pues que Taka murió.
I don't disagree. But our lot...
Plus, maybe we'll get to find out...
All right, then. I suppose we could start with this morning. 4 of us gathered together in the We waited there for quite a while. That was around 8 a.m.
And as soon as we split up, Kyoko went missing.
Soon after that, Hina found Celeste.
It seems I was unconscious for about an hour after I was attacked. I know it was an hour, because...
That was when we saw Celeste's picture, and as it turns out, it also soon became clear. We were soon joined in our search by Byakuya. He was injured, so we took him to the... But not long after leaving the...
When Celeste told us that, and soon after that...
I saw someone moving around on the 3rd floor.
And then... At that point, we decided to Celeste, Hina, and I, while Sakura, Byakuya... When we got back to the nurse's office, and that's when we heard the body discovery announcement. I left Celeste and Hina there and headed back...
Meanwhile, we must have found both bodies because we heard the same announcement.
And that's when then the 3 of us but right after we left the we ran into Celeste. We rushed back to the nurse's office.
Then we remembered we'd left. But when we got there, the next thing we knew, we were... And after...
Celeste informed us that she'd found the which is where we
I think that about...
I see. It certainly seems to me that these...
Okay, well...
Rather than a single series of events, and from there, we can uncover... Now then, let's get started.
A ver. No me más ahí.
So, regarding Taka's death,
Sí.
I wonder if he died before Hifumi, or perhaps it was after?
Vale.
We already know what order they were killed in. Taka came last.
What makes you say that?
¿No?
Because of the numbering of the Justice Hammers.
It's true that Hifumi was killed with Justice Hammer 3, while Taka's death came from a swing of Justice Hammer 4.
See? So it's obvious Taka came after.
Lo triste es algo mentira.
So, regarding, I wonder if he what perhaps it was. We already know what order they were killed in. Taka came last.
What makes you say?
Because of the numbering of the Justice Hammers.
It's true that
Hifumi was killed while Taka's death.
See? So it's obvious Taka came after. So, I wonder if or perhaps it was after. We already know what order they were killed in. Taka came last.
What makes you say that?
Because of the numbering of the Justice.
No, it's wrong. Hold on. There's no reason to assume that they...
Ahí está. No podemos haberse indicado.
Hammer, if anything, that's just enough.
So you're saying the culprit wanted, but in reality, Taka... Okay then.
El reloj. Sí. Reloj de muñeca. Y una H. ¿Me das una H, por favor? Ocurre eso.
Now I understand. I got it. Taka's... See? Look.
It must have gotten broken when he was attacked by the killer. So if it wasn't broken after 6 last night...
And that would be his official time of death.
But if that's true, then he would...
And before Celeste was attacked this morning.
That's right. Taka was...
That simple fact slipped past. We made the wrong assumption about the order.
That's exactly why the culprit wrote the numbers on it that way, when we saw how they were...
Now, if Taka was killed around 6, because when he was killed, we...
That may be true in the... But all of our...
That's right. When we heard Hifumi screaming, then we all ran down to... That's totally true!
Oh, I know! They must have recorded.
If that's true,
I don't know.
don't just go making stuff up.
Anyway, we all have rocked since all of us were there together.
And it does not stop there. When his body vanished, Hina and I were in the bathroom and then there's the disappearance. At that time, we were all gathered. Well, don't forget, I was passed out.
Wait, then what if Genocide Jill did it?
Even if she could pull that off, there's... Because, as we just established...
Besides, I didn't do either of them anyway. In other words, it is impossible. On the other hand, Hiro and Kyo...
For now, we can't get fixated on who did it. So instead of who, I propose we... In particular, I think we need to figure...
That's true. We searched everywhere, and according to what Celeste...
Se movió el mismo.
His body apparently disappeared, but to carry that much weight from...
Oh, man, yeah!
Well, what if I... What? If the dead body were to move itself?
Correcto, solo que no estaba muerto.
The dead body?
I don't think it has anything to do with the... We thought Hifumi was dead, but perhaps in reality he...
He was alive?
Are you saying Hifumi wasn't killed?
But I mean, we...
Perhaps he was simply...
That... It...
Sí, el trapito.
Are you saying that when we first found Hifumi in the nurse's office, there's a chance he was actually still alive?
No, it is impossible. Hifumi was dead, without a doubt.
And you know that how?
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with the rest of us.
Sí.
Hifumi's dead body had been found.
Shoot. No pasa nada.
Are you saying that when we first...
There's a chance he was actually...
No. Hifumi was dead, and you know that...
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement. Hifumi's dead body had been found. And that is why the announcement was made.
Are we really so sure about that? Maybe the announcement was intended to signal someone else's discovery.
Are you saying that when we first...
There's a chance he was actually...
No. Hifumi was dead,
And you know that how?
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with Hifumi's dead body had been found.
No, it's wrong. Was the body discovery announcement that... was made...
Of course it was.
Maybe. But that was...
That's right. It wasn't long after...
So there's a good chance we've made him... I think we've confused whether the announcement was...
First of all, if 2 bodies had been found, there really should have...
Maybe Monokuma.
What do you say, Monokuma? Any comment?
Well, it's a very... But what I can say about it's only broadcast when...
That didn't answer our question, man.
No, actually, that was plenty. Huh? He said it's only broadcast when... Even if we find the same body again, if that's true, then why was the announcement made again later on?
Huh? Later on?
Exactly. We heard... I got it! We heard it a second time in the report. It didn't seem weird at the time.
Exactly. If we were actually
And in reality, when the 2 dead bodies were being discovered for the first time.
So, when we found Hifumi, the... First meaning, he wasn't actually found dead.
And that's just part of it. There's one other thing that leads me to believe...
Oh, I know! Because he was super good at playing dead!
That is the worst logic. But honestly, I do not think...
Okay then, let's take another look. Then it should become clear whether he was...
This whole thing is pointless.
Sí, 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 me vas a morir en el cubo.
Well, here's one thing we do know. The first time we found Hifumi's body was in the nurse's office. And then, while me and Celeste were in the bathroom, his body disappeared.
And the next time we saw his body, it was in the repository.
But when you compare his body before being moved and his body after being moved, other than the change in how it was positioned, there was no notable difference.
No, it's wrong! In fact, there was one clear difference. His glasses. That fact alone proves that he was...
Perhaps you'd like to feel the rest of it?
When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, but when we found him again later, they were spotless. And I found the item. I got it! It was a glasses cleaning cloth featuring a certain cartoon mascot. One look at the bloodstain on this piece of cloth was used, and the mascot on the cloth is this. And whose digital camera was it?
The character was... Princess Piggles. From...
I highly doubt anyone but...
I see your point.
I wouldn't be caught dead using a tech.
A few tissues is all I need to keep my glasses clean.
Then there's no question. What I'm saying is, the blood of...
Even if that is true,
he does... But who would benefit from a clean pair of glasses?
That's a good point.
And it must have been him.
So let's assume that he pretends to be dead. Then he stands up, and with that, the impossible task...
But then, if... What was with all that blood?
The fridge in the nurse's office contains packed...
He figured if he was gonna play dead, he should go off, but he got crazy with it and had to wipe his glasses.
And if Hifumi was still alive at that point, it should be perfectly obvious.
My God! It could only have been Hifumi.
While we were all gathered in the nurse's office.
That also explains how the door...
The door was locked? Well, after the bodies to Sumi and Sakura headed for the but when we got there...
And the repository door can only be locked from the inside. Which means when Hina and Sakura got...
And it could only have been Hifumi.
He convinced us all he was dead. So, Hifumi wasn't just another victim.
But that means...
I just can't believe it.
If you're having trouble, would you like me to show...
There's more?
Oh, absolutely. The single biggest... You know what I'm talking about, right, Makoto?
I got it! You're talking about the note Hifumi... That's right. We found...
What? Pants?
Okay, well, forget about...
That's the note I was telling. Huh? Wait, Monokuma can't find out, so...
See. Then
It's...
In other words, the killer got... And that person could only have been... I got it! That's right! Taka! The killer used this note.
Hello? Over. I don't really understand what's going on. So whoever wrote it wasn't drawing out tick. Just. Ugh! Yes!
No, ninguna.
Humpy had the note, right? Then the person it was intended for must have been Humpy!
But remember what the note said. What time did it say to meet?
6 a.m., I believe.
The time doesn't matter! The note has nothing to do with TikTok!
No, it's wrong. No! There...
What the hell are you talking?
The note said to meet at 6 a.m. You've already proven that, but there's more. Look, the equipment room, right?
Which is where Taka was...
So, Taka was murdered. I think that should be plenty to show that...
Well, no further objections!
Then someone used that note. The culprit...
But if they gave the note to Taka... Stuffed down his pants?
Most likely. Hifumi...
Huh?
Where's your proof?
I got it! When I searched Taka's body, if I'm right about this, I knew it! It fits...
Then Taka's...
Yup. They're from the same...
Hifumi had the note meant for Taka. There's only one...
Taka died clutching the note, leaving behind, oh, did I get all that right?
That means Hifumi knew the note was important.
Exactly. Which proved...
Whoa. Yeah. After seeing all... In fact, he was behind the whole thing!
Sorry, no. When we found him in the repository, the second body discovery announcement proves that.
So then...
Whoever did is the master.
He was killed in the repository.
So, he must have been killed.
During that time, we'd all split up. In other words, during that time...
Wait! But stop trying to steal the spotlight, you stupid walrus! Who are you calling a walrus?
Anyway, when they were killed bothers me, too.
And what might that...
The weapon they used to kill him.
The weapon?
Yeah, because I...
Un martillo limpio.
I mean, the way Taka and Hifumi were killed was almost the same, with them having similar fractures and all.
Espera un momento. ¿Dónde está una cosa importante?
But Justice Hammer 3 and 4 were still laying around in the nurse's office and equipment room. So if Hifumi was killed in the repository, the culprit would have had to grab one of the then put the hammer, but wouldn't that be...
I'm surprised. It seems there's some semblance of...
Hell yeah, it's...
He's right, though. The Monokuma file makes it clear that if the hammers were...
So the question is, how could personally, So which hammer was used to attack...
Those were accounted for in other rooms, too.
Is it not possible they...
I don't think it is possible.
So then...
Spotless hammer.
What was used to kill Hifumi? Was it Justice Hammer 3? Maybe Justice Hammer 4?
Well, whatever it was, there's one thing we have to figure out. How was the culprit able to move around so freely with the weapon? How did nobody witness them carrying it? Sounds like a Justice Hammer 5 is about to make its appearance! Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
Well, one thing seems pretty clear. The murder weapon had to be one of the Justice Hammers!
No, that's wrong! The murder weapon wasn't a Justice Hammer at all.
But, seriously?
Specifically, a hammer from the Now, all the hammers in the but for some reason...
Huh?
And the reason it had been scrubbed clean, if the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood... I'd also like to point out that the repository and even some flat... I think whoever made the Justice...
If that's true, that would
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the...
Whoever did that is the true Hold on a moment. I still the way the graduation rule works, so the idea that anyone would... Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have even if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate, assuming the rule holds true.
No, it's wrong! Since there were two murders, it's...
What do you mean?
If there'd only been one murder, then yeah, naturally, if only one person can be...
Risk versus...
the payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in a scheme.
Ahí va el mando.
There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation becomes...
You're saying that two people could act as each other's accomplices to commit two separate murders?
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime.
Maybe.
And based on the case's events, Hifumi would have... They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of...
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple. Instead, each person killed someone, creating two separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer, a single suspicious individual, a similar by creating one seamless set of circumstances.
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their... Which, if true, means that betrayal...
That's just awful! How could anyone be so cruel?
Pues se llama cruel, la persona cruel.
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
I understand how an accomplice could be...
That's problem numeral...
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
Ahora continuamos. Limpiemos la pantalla un momento. A ver. Cojones, qué pesadilla. Vamos a ver por ahí. A ver. Ay, odio esto. Sale la atención. Borrar caché. Venga.
Ah, so I'm the...
A joke? I wonder...
So what you are saying then? The idea that I would choose to... That I would go within 10 feet of that shit from...
Just to be clear, there...
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, considering what we've learned so far...
I got it! The behavior they had in common has to be the only ones who ever actually saw—
Shush. The adult...
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste... If we accept that Hifumi was one of the...
A ver, fuera. Vamos a probar otra vez, por si acaso. Qué pesadilla de pelo. Fuera. No me refiero al colega Dante, sino a los del otro grupo, que son unos putos varas. Aquí. Fuera. Jeez. Ay, ya está.
Culprits...
Are you saying
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you... We headed to the second floor, next to draw us all to the...
She let out a blood curve.
And when we'd all come to see...
Está todo bien. Venga. Ya está.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner.
it was to get us to divide into two?
In fact, Celeste was precise. Well, if Celeste and on top of that, that was to signal it was your way of telling him we're on. Why else would you let out a scream?
I just realized that when we found Hifumi in the nurse's office... Celeste, you wanted to make sure we wouldn't...
I don't believe...
Hina, you were with...
Yeah? Wait!
She wasn't worried about you.
Each piece isn't much by itself. Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first looking back. I can say that I'm talking about what you said after...
Espera. Aquí mismo. Those guys. Estamos abiertos los dos.
I remember her saying that too.
Then pay attention. Sakura, then Makoto showed up and told us once we were in the hall. We ran into now. The entire time we were... Think about it. Celeste's comment...
Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone... is having... If you're really not the culprit, you should...
All I said was... They must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. It's obvious, isn't it? What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
el hecho de guys cuando... Ping, 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 ping.
All you said was they must really enjoy the sight of us. They must be positively elate. We are all going to die here. We are going to die. Just...
No, it's wrong. That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died. When she said that...
Exactly. And we didn't run in, so there was never any chance for...
So how did you know? How did you know more than one person had... Because Kyoko had also disappeared.
No sé por qué te ríes. Eso es un templo.
You all have such vivid
Imaginations.
You claim that I was lying. Then what about the picture I... How do you explain this picture of the cop?
It has to be some kind of... Celeste, put the suit on. And...
Have you so quickly forgotten? Plus, I happen to know. In other words, it is an honest... If everything I told you was a simple...
Are we
What could you possibly mean by...
Surely there are other
No, there is...
I got it! It's not a picture of the suspect. I would say it's a picture of people.
That's certainly within the realm of... The one being dragged off in that picture, we've simply been led to believe. And the strange costume might... If you saw someone wearing something like...
That's what happened! You will be...
is utterly... Hifumi was dragging you...
Is it?
Then shut your mouth.
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out. Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight. You tried to make me look like the bad guy.
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand up straight.
No, that's wrong. No, even if the person... Because that robo-justice...
That's right!
I'm not so I think the suit was designed from...
Celeste and Hifumi took the suit. That's how they were able to fake that whole... The point of it all was to make us believe...
Well then, I suppose...
Checkmate? Don't make me laugh, you idiot! Celeste? Clearly! You want to cram me into your... Have you already forgot? When we asked him who had attacked, he said... And in other words, yes...
Wait, but my name isn't really...
Your confusing statements don't make any sense.
He did say Yasuhiro.
What the hell are you...
Kyoko.
Think back to how did he refer to each of us?
I got it! That's right! Our last...
Exactly. I know I heard him say Mr. Naegi more than once, so if Hifumi did mean to say...
I'm sure it was just... Indecent?
Don't talk.
Random chance. No, there's no reason to... But he must have run out of energy.
So Hifumi was trying to tell us the...
But the name he said doesn't...
Well, no. And that's Celeste.
To think you'd take your fall... Come on! Enough with your... Well? What? I think I've earned the right to...
Okay, then Phyllis...
Make sure my real name is Celestia Ludenberg. Could you...
Hifumi was trying to tell us something. He wanted us to know the killer's last name, Yasuhiro.
If there's one person here who might have that last name...
It would have to be you, Celeste. You haven't told anyone what your real name is.
How many times do I have to tell you? My name is... Celestia Ludenberg! God damn it!
How long do you plan to go on pretending?
I'm not pretending. It's the truth. And since you have no way to contradict...
¿Que no qué?
No, what's wrong?
¿Que no qué? ¿Que no tengo manera de qué?
That's it.
¿No tengo manera de qué?
What?
Anytime you turn your handbook on, Monokuma told us all about it before. So all we have to do is check her handbook. That's how we can find out Celeste's real name.
They...
Celeste. Can you please just tell us what please?
Even when I'm put in check because until the game's over, you're...
Fine then. Let me go over the case again. And that'll bring everything to an... Here's exactly what happened. Before anything, the killer persuaded someone to help carry out the murder. Hifumi. With an accomplice, the killer was able to execute a number of otherwise impossible schemes. First, they convinced someone to meet them in the rec room last night at 1 in the morning. That someone they met with was Hiro. The murderous duo intended to pass Hiro off as the prime suspect. So when they met up with him, they drugged him, knocked him out, and stuffed him into the Robo-Justice suit. Next, Hifumi positioned himself to make it look like Robo-Justice was attacking him, while the killer used a digital camera to take pictures of the assault. They did all this just to create evidence that would put the suspicion on Hiro. When they were done with him, they shoved him, still unconscious, into the pool room locker. And then finally, at 6 a.m., they moved into the murder phase of their plan. They called Taka to the equipment room. And that's where Hifumi killed him, making it the scene of the first murder. The murder weapon was Justice Hammer 4, which was left there in the equipment room. The reason Hammer number 4 was used was to create confusion about the order of the crimes. So, next they falsified 2 more assault incidents. For these attacks, the killers pretended to be the victims, to solidify Robo Justice as the suspect. The first fake incident was the attack in the rec room. There, the killers wanted us to see Justice Hammer 1, and the Robo Justice pictures they'd taken. They wanted to make sure we bought the surprise attack story. The second fake incident was the attack in the library. This time, they planted Justice Hammer 2 and an injured Hifumi to sell us that story. With these 2 incidents, the killers were able to create a certain preconception in our minds that the suspect was increasing the size of the hammers and attacking people in order as they did. We fell right into their trap and started looking for the suspect based on that. But while we did that, we left Hifumi alone in the nurse's office. This was exactly what Hifumi was hoping for. He took a blood packet from the refrigerator and Justice Hammer 3 and turned the room into a crime scene in which he himself had apparently been brutally murdered. He let out a scream to draw us back, and when we returned, that's what we found. Meanwhile, the other group that had been out searching found Taka's body at the same time. So when we heard the body discovery announcement, we naturally assumed it was for Hifumi. We left the nurse's office, and Hifumi once again took advantage of the situation. He simply got up and made his escape. When we learned his body had disappeared, we all rushed back to the nurse's office. And once again, Hifumi had the chance he was waiting for. This time, he snuck into the equipment room. He wrapped Taka's body in a tarp and used the dolly to move it all the way down to the repository. That explains how each of the bodies disappeared. But even Hifumi didn't know what the true killer had in mind for their final act. Their plan all along was to kill Hifumi and get rid of the one person who could betray them. And they did it using an ordinary, everyday hammer from the repository. That should cover everything that happened in this case. And the villain behind it all is...
Celeste. You lose. Perdiste. Apuestas que no sé si perdiste.
Celeste.
Sorry. You lose. ¿Perdiste?
I lost?
Sí, perdiste.
I lost?
Sí, perdiste.
When was the last time I was forced to utter such words?
No importa, has perdido.
They hang heavy around my neck.
Then you admit it? You're the killer?
Listen to you, trying to take charge, as if you're my private instructor. I, Celestia Taiko Yasuhiro is fine.
Taiko?
So, you finally accepted it.
I'm the kind of person, once I've lost, I don't like things to drag on.
Interesting.
Bueno, pues bueno, perdiste, Celes. No, tan, 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 tan. Monedas.
Okay, Monokuma. I'm ready to begin. Or, no, I suppose this is the end, isn't it?
It is indeed the moment we've all been. If you would, please look, and when the votes are tallied, who will become? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully?
Pues ¿quién es el culpable, Celes? Tin, tin, tin.
Honestly,
I knew it. So then...
Indeed.
Sí, sí, lo sé. Alter ego.
Say what?
Just a second. In other words...
Indeed.
I see.
Actually,
What?
are you okay with this? So then...
Damnation! Say what?
As for me...
Oh.
As for me...
What? Damnation! Say what? Completely unforgivable!
Most unfortunate. Actually,
What?
indeed. Honestly.
I swear!
Actually,
I see.
indeed.
But...
Porque eres justo. Porque eres idiota.
Let's see.
Well,
Are you okay with...
so in the end,
Sí.
What the heck? Well,
Don't be mean!
I wonder about that.
Why?
What the heck?
But...
You little bitch! Hey! You little bitch! This is fine. Honestly. As for me, isn't it wonderful?
Menudo sueño de mierda. Bueno, ustedes.
This is fine. There is nothing to be done.
Just the worst.
Oh. Do you understand?
What is this?
Yes, indeed. Isn't it wonderful?
Hey.
Grills, chills, kills! Now then, I've prepared a very special punishment. Let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time!
I guess I'll let Kyoko hold on to this. What? Will it really give you the hope you're looking for? I can't say I ever saw it that way. Which is why... Actually, it's not important. Well then... Take care, everyone. Perhaps we'll meet again. In another life.
A tomar por culo, Celes. Venga, next. A ver, que luego nada de esto es verdad. Literalmente, o sea, en el texto entero es que nada de esto es verdad. Esto es un puto programa de televisión. Que lleva 55 ediciones. Ninguno son de verdad. Y a tomar por culo Celes. Venga. Muy bien. Pues vamos a guardar aquí y lo dejamos. Y ya está muerto.